Welcome back, America. Senator Josh Hawley, last week you had a hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and the Deputy Attorney General of the United States was answering questions, or was she? She seemed to be ducking a lot of very significant questions you were asking about the ambiguity of this memo, about the First Amendment, about civil liberties and so forth. What did you make of her?
Thanks for having me, Mark. It's great to be with you. I made it of her that she didn't want to answer any questions, that she didn't want to actually take any responsibility for this extraordinary memo from the Justice Department at the direction of Joe Biden, the idea that they would use the FBI to intervene in school board meetings with the purpose of, let's be honest, intimidating and harassing parents. Just unprecedented. And I said to her, I said, listen, this isn't about violence. We all know that if somebody threatens violence, the local police will book that person, they'll charge that person, they'll get them out of there. This is about using federal law enforcement to try and intimidate parents because these parents are daring to stand up and criticize critical race theory. That's what this is about. So I said to her, I said, what are the standards? Your memorandum says the FBI is going to investigate intimidation and harassment. Well, according to who? I mean, by what standards? And she wouldn't answer those questions, Mark. She wouldn't give me any definition. She just kept coming back to, well, everybody's against violence. Well, of course we're against violence. What we're not against, though, is free expression. What we're not against is the First Amendment. But that's what this administration is doing. They are attacking our basic First Amendment principles. And it's all in an effort to try and shut down moms and dads, parents, who are paying their taxes, who have kids in schools, and by the way, who are voters, and they have a right to express their opinion at school board meetings. This is just unprecedented. And I tell you, I'm going to do everything I can to stop it.
You know, Senator Hawley, this is the same Attorney General when he was testifying his confirmation, who refused to call the attacks on the Portland federal courthouse acts of domestic terrorism because they happened at night and nobody was there. I'm not aware of a pattern of violence in these various school districts, and they haven't presented any, neither the National School Board Association or the Attorney General in his memo. I'm not aware that violence is so out of control that local police are unable to handle this. That is an absolute flat-out lie. Are you aware of any federal nexus or federal basis that would allow the United States Department of Justice and its various instrumentalities to go into school boards, to monitor parents, to question parents who dare to become vociferous or provocative?
None whatsoever, Mark. I mean, I can't imagine what the basis is for having the FBI get involved here. I will say this. I mean, it's interesting that the Biden administration has finally found some form of violence that it doesn't approve of. I mean, as we're seeing violent crimes surge across our country, homicides a year-on-year high, violent attacks are at highs, and the Biden administration has done nothing. They won't lift their finger, but yet they want to shut down parents from speaking by calling that violence. I mean, it is truly extraordinary, and it's dangerous. And you talked about this earlier. This is a dangerous precedent to use federal law enforcement to go after citizens, to stop them from speaking about things you don't like. If this is allowed to stand, I shudder to think what will happen in the future under this administration or any other administration when it comes to trying to silence law-abiding citizens, parents, taxpayers who are just speaking their mind. Can I just add, by the way, Mark, they've got every right to speak their mind about any topic, but critical race theory, they are right to stand up and say they don't want their kids being taught these lies. They are right to stand up and say they don't want their kids to be indoctrinated. And the idea that you'd use the federal government to shut them down, that's wrong.
And it's very interesting, Senator Hawley, how different groups and different people are treated differently by this administration. They haven't gone full bore against Black Lives Matter, which has as part of its mission overthrowing the United States government, a Marxist organization, a very violent organization, as we saw this summer. They won't even recognize Antifa as an organization. They're not tracking down Antifa and its funding sources and so forth. I mean, people aren't showing up at these school board meetings with frozen water bottles or umbrellas or Molotov cocktails or anything of that sort. The effort to characterize all these parents as domestic terrorists, and that's what they're doing, because there's no other hook, is really disgusting. It's appalling. And the lack of media outcry, except on a few outlets, is really shocking. Are you not, appalled by the fact that the media in this country isn't even standing up for freedom of speech?
I am appalled, and I'm disturbed by it, and I think, again, the trend is very, very dangerous. And it's just an extraordinary thing, Mark, to see this government, to see Joe Biden go after and try to silence parents, tax-paying parents, by using federal law enforcement. Can I just say that you know that you've lost the argument? You know that you are totally out of touch when you're trying to use the arm of the federal government to tell moms and dads that they don't have any right to speak, and that if they want to get up and question what's going on in their own kids' schools, they might get an FBI agent knocking at their door. I mean, that is just, it is extraordinary, and I don't think parents are going to put up with it. I know what the intent of this is, that the intent is meant to silence parents. I don't think it's going to have that effect. I think the American people are going to look at this and they're going to say, no way, I've got a right to know what's going on in my kid's school. I've got a right to have an opinion about it. I've got a right to express it, and I'm not going to be intimidated.
We'll be right back.